Hello. I wanted to show you if you have a finished artwork that you really like. I wanted to show you how you can even make it more interesting by adding more detail and texture onto the edges. Edges of your artwork are really important, and sometimes we overlook them and we leave them plain. So there are things you could do, including glue it onto another paper. You could crinkle cut the sides, but I'm going to show you how you can use a piece of yarn and a hole puncher to weave the sides of your artwork. Before I do that, if you are interested in making something similar to these bubbles in this ocean picture that I started, I made sure to use watercolor paper. I traced circles, even having some go off the page. And then I didn't use any paint actually. I colored it with marker. I used blue and a little bit of green around the edges. And then I used a wet paintbrush, no paint, just water on top of the marker. And I did that, and the marker will loosen up. So let's see here. What I recommend if you want to go around, you will need about twice the amount as the length of your paper. So I'm just going to go up one side of my paper to show you. So I cut a piece of yarn that's it's about twice at least the length of the paper, maybe a little bit more even. If you have extra little pieces of yarn, instead of putting them back in the yarn bin, because they're tiny little guys, please don't throw them away either. That's good art stuff. There is a little cup in the Collage Lab that you can put little pieces in. All right, back to this. So I'm going to put hole punches just along the edges. And to get them to be even, this is what I've got to do. I'm going to put one on each end, one in the middle, and then I keep going in the middle of each piece. Don't just pull punch it. They won't be even, and then you'll be able to notice that. So again, in between these two, I'm going to go find the middle-ish, make a punch. My paper's still wet with the paint, so it's not punching well. In between these two on the other side. So think, how can you make your artwork better? Make it even. All right, and now I'm going to go one more time in the middle of each one of those. Again, my artwork is wet, so it doesn't want to punch so well there. Sometimes these dots that you create are really cool to make artwork too. You could, like I could glue them, oh, not that one, but I can glue the colored ones and make tiny bubbles, for instance. All right. So to do this, I'm going to go to one end, top or bottom, doesn't matter. I'm going to stick the yarn through the hole, top or bottom, doesn't matter. And then I need a little bit of extra because I need to tie it like you tie your shoes. And if I pull really tight, what's going to happen? The paper's going to rip. So just tie loosely. And then I'm going to make a second knot because that one knot won't hold it. All right. Now, instead of going up and down like we did yesterday to weave, I'm going to go around each time. So I'm going to go around and up through my hole. Be gentle. Around and up through the hole. Around and up through the hole. Around and up through the hole. Around, up through the hole. And I'm going to go all the way to the top, and when I get to the top, I'll do the same knot thing. You can always cut off the little bit of extra. Remember that when you cut a piece of yarn, it's best to get just a little bit too much because you can always cut your yarn to make it smaller, but you can't really cut it to make it, or you can't really make it longer. All right. So at the end you might be thinking, well, what do I tie it to? I recommend just flipping it over and tying it to the back of one of the strings that's right there. Take your time. It's just one way to make your art look a little more interesting. When you tie it here, it might not be perfect. You could, if the tying is too difficult and you're like, oh, I don't know about that, there's another solution. You could just tape the yarn down on the back of your artwork. If there's no tape available, you could get a piece of scrap paper and put glue on it and stick it on. I call that making your own tape, because you just use a piece of gluey scrap paper to stick it on too, which works just as well. All right, everybody, happy arting today.